Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about books that I loved that I will never read again. Never, ever read again. No touching, no looking, no reading. We're done, we're through. I loved you, but now we're breaking up. Drama. Save that for your mama. There are several different reasons as to why I will never reread these books. Number one, the book might not have aged well. Like milk gone sour, soda gone flat, book gone sour, book gone flat. I ain't eating or drinking either of those. Number two, I don't want to ruin the romanticized reading experience in my mind. Sometimes rereading books is not a good thing. Sometimes you read it back and it ruins the experience completely. Either you pick up on something that's problematic, or you've just matured as a human and it's not hitting the same. Sometimes it's best to just protect that first reading experience that you had with that book. Protect that safe space that was magical and everything and amazing and wonderful. Maturing is being able to recognize the fact that a book you read and loved 5 years ago might not be as good as you thought it was. Number three, and the final reason, is the content of the book is a little too hard-hitting. The book might be very important, and it might cover things that are a little bit difficult to process, and it's hard to want to read that book again because of the weight it can bring. I was thinking about all of these things as I was perusing my shelves recently. There have been a lot of books that I have loved and have spent copious amounts of time raving about. Raving to a point where some of y'all were probably like, can he shut up already? Mute this boy! I'm exiting YouTube immediately. But I've realized now that some of these books I will never reread because of the reasons I just mentioned. Let's go over some of those books. Number one. Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I'm done with this book. I'll never read it again. I've just really grown and I'm just above this book now. Like, looking at it is giving me the ick. Psych! I could never. This is actually me trying to get you to read this book still. Read it. Go pick it up. Are we tired of the Miss Peregrine's jokes? Probably. Will I keep delivering them? Probably. Am I sorry? No. Now let's really start. First up we have Ready Player One. This takes place far into the future where the real world has become bleak and everybody is spending their time in this virtual reality world called the Oasis. The creator embedded the game with a scavenger hunt that will lead to a massive prize. We follow our main character Wade, who is taking on the challenge to get that prize. Get that prize. I loved this book when I first read it. It was a whirlwind of an experience. From beginning to end, I was captured. I was engaged. The world around me disappeared. I was pretty much in the Oasis. But thinking about this book today, I don't think it would enchant me as much if I were to read it again. Does that make it a one-hit wonder? Perhaps. I still think I would enjoy it if I were to read it again, but I just feel like it would miss that impact that I first felt when I first read it. And I don't feel like it would be worth it. I just don't see myself being blown away by it again because I think it's one of those books where you can't be blown away by it again. And I would like to protect that enchanted reading experience that I had with this book. I'm not gonna be the one to come through and wreck it like a wrecking ball. Not pulling no Miley Cyrus today. Wreck-It Ralph wanna come through and wreck it? Not today, Ralph. Not today. I was not a critical reader when I read this one either. And not saying that being a critical reader ruins the fun of books, because I don't think that's the case at all. You can critique while also be kicking, giggling, and squealing. But I just knew in general it would change my reading experience of this book. It would just completely shift it and kind of taint that romanticized version of my reading experience with this book that's in my head. I know for a fact that I would be over-analyzing every little thing if I were to read it again, just because I've read some reviews and some criticisms of this book since having read it that brought up quite a few valid points that would have me looking at this book quite differently. I'd be looking at it with quite a different lens, that's for sure. And I just don't want to taint that original reading experience that I had. I just want this book to remain in a happy place in my mind. And I think that's okay. I've been thinking a lot about if I want to even tackle the sequel to this book, cleverly titled Ready Player Two. I was already feeling really iffy about it when I first heard about it, because is it necessary? Is it going to add anything to the story? Is it going to do anything for me? Probably not. And the book monster inside of me wants it really bad and needs to know what happens next. Let me know if you've read the sequel down below in the comments and your thoughts on it. Next up, food, girls, and other things I can't have. This story is about a boy who is looking to reinvent himself after falling head over heels in love with the new girl at school. I read this early on in my booktube journey back in the day when I was a reader fetus. I wasn't very well read at the time. I was honestly pretty new to reading as a hobby, and so I was in a phase where I loved every book that I touched, which is normal. When you first get into reading as a hobby, it feels like every book you touch is gold. Every book is 5 out of 5 stars. Every book you read is so good. The amount of times back in the day when all I could think to say about a book was that it was so good. Too many times. But then the more you read, the more you cultivate your tastes. Your book nom-noms. The things that'll have you salivating as you're reading. And you build up your bookish icks. The things that bother you. The things that have you going There's a big part of me that feels like this one in particular wouldn't have aged well if I were to read it today. The book's main character is fat and he is struggling to feel like he fits in because of that. And a part of me wonders if this book could land in the fat phobia area. I can't say if that's true or not because it's literally been 10 years since I've read this book, so I can't remember. I just feel like that's something that I probably wouldn't have picked up on the first time that I read this book because my critical reading skills took their time to find me. Literally the lines highlighted on the back say this: what's worse than being fat your freshman year? Being fat your sophomore year. Yikes. I also just have this feeling that I would hate how the main character becomes infatuated with the new girl. This is something that has become a really big ache with me with books. When a character doesn't really have a strong reason for liking another character, they just have one small interaction and the next thing you know, they're ready to be dressed in gowns and suits and saying I do. I know it's normal to become infatuated with someone, I'm not mad at that, but I just don't like when the character becomes like obsessive about it and it just like takes over their mind. That's when I'm like, let's take a deep breath, let's calm down, reel it back in now. I just know this book would hit different if I were to read it today, and not in a good hit different kind of way. Next up on my list, I've got attachments. In this book, we follow Lincoln, who has become an internet security officer where he manages emails. He ends up monitoring the emails of Beth and Jennifer. Their messages are the ones that are going against company policy because they're talking about personal things within their daily lives and they're supposed to be sticking to work emails. As Lincoln begins to read these emails, begins to read these back and forth, he finds that his heart is becoming strongly fond of Beth. When I first read this, I was like, Lincoln is pure and wholesome and needs to be protected at all costs. Wow, this relationship that's forming is so pure. Beth is so funny, I could read her witty humor all day. But now I look back on this book and I'm like, creepy. Creepy, creepy, creepy. Boy literally read their emails and started falling in love with the girl he didn't know. What's that I hear? Red flag? Yeah, I think it is a red flag that I hear. Even if their emails were super personal and it's his job to like read through them, it's creepy that he started to fall for her through the emails. When he should have been reporting the emails because that was his job, to report personal emails and have the workers stay focused on work emails. Am I crazy for thinking that? I don't think I'm crazy for thinking that. I think because Rainbow Rowell approaches this book with her like bubbly, lighthearted writing style, it covered up the creepiness of it. It was like, oh how cute, pure, and wholesome of a little relationship thing we've got going on here. But now I'm sitting here like, that was creepy. What was I thinking? I feel like if I were to read it again, this aspect, this like creepiness factor would just be so in my face and I wouldn't be able to like overlook it. So I'm not gonna do that to myself. Next on my list, Love Boat Taipei. This story follows Ever Wong, whose parents sent her to Taipei in order for her to learn Mandarin and to learn more about her own culture. But when she gets there, she learns that Taipei has a lot more to offer than she had expected. I had so much fun with this book. It was a roller coaster from start to finish. One that I was willing to get on and enjoy the thrill, the ride, the vibes. I signed up for it. But I just know that I'd be rolling my eyes, kicking and screaming, raging and hollering if I were to read it again. The drama is so absurd at times, which I recognized this fact when I was reading it. I knew it was wildly over the top, but I took part in that buffet and went ham. I really said, can I have seconds? Can I have thirds? The guy characters are a bit on the insufferable side. I feel like I was okay with them while I was in it, but then like the processing time after having read the book, I was like, oh no, oh god. Got a bad boy with a tragic backstory. Got the goody two-shoes with the girlfriend, but he's interested in the main character. Uh-oh, tension, drama. Are we gonna cross the line? Are we gonna play it safe? And finally, so many unrealistic things happen. The ending will have you going, what in tarnation's going on here? How do we get from A to Z when we skipped B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X? And why? Forgot about why. But listen, I really enjoyed this book. It was a lot of fun. I just know that if I were to reread it though, I'd be like, oh no. No. I will be watching the movie when it drops on Netflix, because that's coming. That's something that's happening. Catch me streaming, catch me screaming. This is another one where I've been up in the air about reading the sequel. I was anticipating it, but then when it came out, I just had put it off for so long. And during that put off period, I like recognized the fact that I probably have a lot more criticisms towards this book than I realized. So do I even want to go there? I don't know if I want to go there, but I probably will go there at some point. The last book on my list of books that I will never reread again. What We Saw. This story dives deep into rape culture and is inspired by an actual case that happened here in the States. I hold this book in such a high regard. It's honestly one of those books that I feel like should be taught in schools because, news alert, situations like the one in this book are still happening all around the world, and people in power, try to shove it under a rug and pretend it's not that big of a deal. And the people who do that are clowns. Like, look at yourself in the mirror and tell me that you don't see a clown in that reflection, because that's all I see when I look at you. I just don't see myself having the heart to reread this one again because of its heaviness. It's a challenging book to read, which is a good thing, because we need to think about these things, we need to have these things on our radar, and we need to discuss the topics that were covered in this one. I just know how sad I felt and enraged I felt the whole time reading it, and I don't want to go through that again. And it's a different kind of sadness too, and a different kind of rage when you're reading a book about a situation that you know is still happening today, is still not being taken seriously, and how victims are treated throughout all of it. It's just disgusting. Honestly, It's disgusting. It is a book that I will continue to recommend like crazy though, because I feel like everybody should read it. It's that important. It's that impactful. So if you haven't read it yet, if you don't have it on your radar, What We Saw, check it out. Those are 5 books that I've been thinking about recently that I just know that I will never read again. Had their moment in my reading life, and I think that's where I will leave them be. Not every book that you read needs a reread. You guys should let me know down below in the comments if you have any books that you love that you just know that you'll never reread again. Tell me what that book is and what your reasoning is behind it, because I think it's just very fascinating hearing why people won't reread certain books or why people avoid rereading books. Just let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. If you like this video, be sure to go and hit that like button. If you want to see more bookish content from me, be sure to go and hit subscribe or go and hit that bell icon and you'll be notified every time I post new videos. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope your day is bright, that tomorrow is brighter. Keep reading what your heart desires, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye, yo! I ain't... What's happening? I ain't eaten either... I put bite marks on this. Oh, frick. I don't even know if I'm gonna use that clip. Oh well, it's okay. I know it's normal to become infatuated. Dust in my face. Woo! I know it's... I know it's normal to... I can't even talk. I just don't really like reading that element within books. From that point of view. What's my hand doing? Whew. I feel good. Na 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 na. I knew that I would now. I feel good. I knew that I would now. So good. Wow, wow, so good. I got you. Yeah, 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 yeah. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Oh my god, clearing my throat every 5 seconds. Even if their emails were super personal, even if their emails were super, even, whoa.